Hi, and welcome to the practice video for the Cave of the Saints. Each week in my newsletter, I'm going to share one of the practices that I describe in the book. In the book, these teachings and practices are revealed to Armin Toms, either by one of the gods or goddesses or great saints or sages of the world's great traditions, or by his preceptor and guide in the Cave of the Saints, Dona Poirot. So this week, the first major teaching is called, I'd like to talk about the first major teaching that Armin receives in the cave. This one is from Dona, and I call it the Tree of the Heart. And the idea here is that just as a tree is a home for countless living beings, so the universe is like a tree, which is also a home for countless living beings in numerous universes. Of course, much of what I say here goes beyond the limits of conventional everyday thinking and science. I'm not anti-science. I'm a professor of religious studies, or I'm a retired professor of religious studies. I have a PhD from a great research university. And yet I do think that our perception of reality is too limited if we take a strictly sociological and materialistic view of things. The spiritual heritage of humanity is rich with visionary teachings and profound insights into the really deep and mysterious nature of our existence. And so it requires a little bit of a suspension of that everyday mentality in which reality is pretty much limited to corporations and institutions and what our friends and family might think. We do need to stay in contact with all of that. We don't want to go off completely on some sort of deep end with these things, but we shouldn't deny ourselves our right to participate in the ancient spiritual heritage of humankind because it fulfills and deepens our life. It gives our lives meaning. And it points out that the purpose of human life isn't just to consume or to have fun or to have lots of adventures, to be rich, to be powerful, to be influential. The real purpose of human life, as I understand it, is to deepen our spiritual perception of the unity, the oneness of life, and to live from that center so that as our consciousness becomes more refined and subtle, we're able to connect more deeply with others, and we're able to make a journey into deeper and higher levels of awareness, which will be our destiny after the passing away of these temporary bodies. So that was pretty much a preamble to not even the teaching about the tree of the heart, but to give us permission to allow ourselves to think outside of the ordinary boundaries of what's taken as normal everyday reality and normal everyday spirituality. So the tree of the heart, the idea here is that just as a tree is a home for many living beings, so the universe is a home for many living beings. The practice is pretty straightforward as it's revealed to Armin. This is not a practice that I've taken from any specific religious tradition, but in the intuitive process of writing the novel, I also intuitively experienced these teachings. And so I'd like to share this one with you. And the steps of the practice are very simple. You can sit comfortably as you like in any meditation posture or pose that's convenient for you, as long as you're sitting comfortably and as long as your spine is not slumped over, as long as you're sitting erect. Now, because I'm describing the teaching, I will be talking and my eyes will be mostly open. This is not the practice itself. This is the training for the practice. So you might want to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, slow, deep breaths, simply as a way of marking the difference between conventional external experience and the entrance into the inner world. And you will notice as you take a few deep breaths that even that simple activity uh, of attending to your breath already brings a certain level of calmness. It's a great way just to calm down in the middle of things. It's not just yoga, but it's also common sense that taking a deep breath is relaxing. And if we turn our attention now to our inner realm, we first thing we probably notice, if we notice anything distinctive there, is that our mind is usually pretty much in charge. And by mind here, what I mean specifically is the everyday turmoil of thoughts and memories and judgments and viewpoints and that constantly arise spontaneously and automatically inside of our awareness. Um, so we bring our attention to bear upon that stream, that flow of images and thoughts and memories, and we bring our attention to bear upon it. Not that it's hard to become aware of it, in order to simply withdraw a bit from it. We don't want to get caught up in the thoughts, memories, images, the to-do lists, and so on. Just want to observe that flow. And in this observing, we start to step back a little bit from it. It's already a little bit of the detachment that the yogis and the great contemplatives speak about. Just to step back mentally from the flow and to not get caught up in it. And as various images, thoughts, memories arise, to just let them arise and float away as they always do. Thoughts always change, like the weather. Let them float away like clouds. When you look up and you see a cloud, it may make you think, in this case, this cloud looks like the continent of Europe that I'm looking up at, of Western Europe. I see France, I see Spain. But I can simply let it drop. That cloud is already moving on a little bit. It really wasn't Europe. There was no Spain or France in the sky. And then as we do that for a few moments, a few minutes, we'll notice that our minds become more calm. And at this point, when we've experienced a little bit of calmness, in this practice, it also makes use of what in Sanskrit is called the mudra, which is a gesture. In this case, it refers to the kinds of gestures that are gestures or motions that we make with our hands. And this mudra is the mudra of bringing our right hand over our sternum or breastbone, and then covering it with the left hand, so that our hands are placed. They lie diagonally, crosswise across the sternum. And as this is using mudras or physical gestures is a very powerful way of physically redirecting our awareness, our consciousness. And automatically there's a feeling of becoming centered when we do this. But the centeredness is not just an enclosedness upon oneself as the outward movement of the fingers suggests. They fold outwards, they splay outwards. So it's an inwardness that is also oriented towards the whole universe, towards others. And as we remain in the quietness that comes when we don't get caught up in our thoughts, we can become aware of a subtle presence, a subtle realm of experience. And this is the prana body or the subtle body. And it's the opening or the doorway into the subtler realms of experience, which are not yet recognized by science, and perhaps they will eventually be as contemplative experience is subjected more and more to rigorous scientific study. But these subtle realms, interpret it how you like. It's a fact of experience that you do experience a subtilization or a simplification of awareness in meditation. So as you remain still with your eyes closed, with your hands folded crossways or diagonally across the sternum, as you do this on your own without my voice, listen deeply within. Turn your spiritual ear within. Look within. And you may begin to feel or to sense the presence of ancestors, of long deceased relatives and friends, or the presence of a guiding spirit, a deity, a deva in Sanskrit, a sage or a saint, or just a gentle sense of loving peaceableness. And in this space of loving peaceableness, which is often irradiated as it deepens with a subtle light, and also it's tinged or touched with a very subtle sense of happiness. We actually, in the tree of the heart, we experience and we discover our deep felt unity and connection with all living beings. And the great saints and the great sages, they live from this space. And if anyone has had any connection with a great saint or a deity, people who have faith in God, people who trust in their guru, people who pray to saints, you'll know this is the place where they live, and they experience us and our needs and our hopes and our aspirations and our devotion, and they respond to us here. This is where they respond to us. And that's why I have a PhD in religious studies, and so I've learned how to think critically. I taught for many years in universities, religious studies, with a philosophical emphasis and a comparative emphasis. And yet, this is one of the great healing mysteries of life. One of the great graces of life is that the divine realities are present to us from within. All we have to do is turn to them, and we begin to experience their healing and guiding presence. And so here in the tree of the heart meditation, we can begin to sense our connectedness to all beings, to the divine beings and other beings, other living beings throughout all universes. Of course, it won't happen on the first day, and you may just experience at most a sense of calmness or even a brightening of consciousness, all of which are good things. And so as we rest in that awareness for a time, without forcing anything, we may sense, we may remember someone that we encountered yesterday or the day before, or the image of a friend or even of a stranger may pass across our awareness. And we just simply wish them well-being and health and happiness, and aspire for them that they rise to the highest reality and to fulfill their spiritual destiny. And we remain in this awareness for as long as it feels comfortable without forcing anything. And we always bring our awareness to the light, to the inner light, which is like the light of the sun within us. Always bring our awareness back to that. And slowly we can begin to breathe more normally or take a deep breath and place our hands on our knees or and open our eyes and quietly reconnect with the situation around us and go quietly into the rest of our day. So thank you for spending some time with me as I tried to convey uh, the practice and the feeling of the practice in particular that Armin received on his first night in the Cave of the Saints. And I would invite you to read my newsletter every week, to sign up for it if you like it, to share it with friends. The book is available through Amazon in case you'd like to read it and to go more deeply into Armin's experience. Thank you for taking some time with me this week. Be well.